Welcome to the Colorado Division of Housing Voucher Briefing. During this presentation, we will provide an explanation of the policies and what you can expect from the Housing Choice Voucher Program, previously known as the Section 8 program. Welcome to the Voucher Briefing presentation. Other voucher types. If you have been offered a different type of voucher, the basic program rules and structure are the same as Housing Choice Voucher. However, this presentation will let you know if there is a difference as the material is covered. Refer to your one-page handout called Housing and Homeless Programs for a detailed explanation of each voucher type Division of Housing administers. At this briefing, you will review the program rules and regulations, sign required releases and forms, review ongoing participant requirements, be issued a voucher, and provided instructions for locating a unit. Program responsibilities. The Housing Choice Voucher Program is a four-way partnership between the Division of Housing, the housing coordinator, the participant, and the landlord. Some participants may also have case managers, parole officers, mental health professionals, and/or representative payees. Program responsibilities. DOH and your housing coordinator. We will review all the applications for eligibility, explain program rules, issue you a voucher, approve your unit, your landlord, and your tenancy. We will make timely payments to the landlord. We will ensure continued eligibility and ensure that landlords and participants comply with the rules. Program responsibilities for the participant. That's you. You are the participant. You will sign the Statement of Understanding, an agreement with the Division of Housing. The Division of Housing will sign a HAB contract with your landlord, and you and your landlord will sign a lease together. Program responsibility for the landlord. The landlord will screen participants. The landlord is expected to comply with fair housing laws. The landlord will maintain the housing unit by making any necessary repairs. The landlord will comply with terms of the HAP contract, and they will collect your portion of the rent due directly from you and enforce their lease. Steps to assistance. Housing coordinator and Division of Housing determine your eligibility. We will issue you a voucher. You will decide where to live. The landlord will approve you to live in their unit. The housing coordinator will also need to approve the unit. And then the housing assistance payment contract and the lease will be signed, and the housing assistance payment will be made. Step 1, final eligibility. Before you can receive a voucher, you need to provide proof of your lawful presence, a picture ID, a social security card, birth certificate, proof of income, proof of assets, proof of expenses, and verification of disability if disabled. Your housing coordinator will need all of this information for all family members. Please note, you will not have to provide proof of lawful presence for all programs. Special programs. PSH and SHV examination of eligibility will also require proof of chronic homelessness as defined by HUD. Lawful presence. For programs that require it, every family member 18 years old and older must provide proof that you live in the United States legally to be eligible for participation in the Division of Housing Housing Choice Voucher Program. Proof of lawful presence. You can provide this proof by signing a Declaration 214 form. You will also have to provide one of the following: a license, a Colorado license that's expired less than 1 year, a Colorado ID card expired less than 1 year, a US passport expired less than 10 years, an out-of-state driver's license or ID from a lawful presence state expired less than 1 year, a certificate of naturalization with a photo less than 20 years old, or certification of citizenship with a photo less than 20 years old. You may need additional identification. If you do not have this type of identification, report this to your housing coordinator. Again, please note, this is not a requirement for all programs. You will also need to provide verification of income. The total anticipated income for your household must be reported to your residential coordinator. This is because your portion of rent will be based on your income. Income includes wages, tips, overtime pay and bonuses, income if you own a business, income from assets, Social Security benefits, retirement benefits, and any type of disability income, unemployment benefits, alimony and child support, TANF, contributions from family and friends, stipends from a trust, aid to the needy and disabled, food stamps, student financial aid, and any veterans' pensions. Income for minors. All income needs to be reported, including income for minors from employment and from any other sources. Zero income. Family members 18 years old and older who do not report income must provide a zero income reporting form to your housing coordinator at each annual certification, or in the interim if the income has changed. Assets. All assets for your household must be reported to your housing coordinator. An asset is something that has monetary value, such as cash, a savings account, a checking account, stocks, a house, a car, or a parcel of land. Assets include savings and checking accounts, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, life insurance policies that have a cash value, any property, personal property held as an investment, such as gems, jewelry, coin collections, and antique cars, employer pension and retirement funds, individual retirement accounts, and similar retirement savings accounts, annuities, and trusts. If you're not sure if your asset needs to be reported, please let your housing coordinator know, and we'll let you know if we need more information. We can also collect information on medical expenses or childcare expenses in this program, and this will assist in lowering your portion of rent. Allowable expenses include childcare expenses necessary for a family member to be gainfully employed, actively seeking work, or furthering his or her education. Certain self-employment expenses, if you are self-employed, please discuss this with your housing coordinator, or medical and disability expenses for disabled participants and families. This includes prescriptions, doctor co-payments, dental expenses, maintenance and upkeep of companion animals, and mileage to and from medical appointments. At this point in your packet, there should be an authorization for release of information. Please locate this form. It should say authorization for release of information and Privacy Act notice on the top. This form allows our agency to verify income and assets only and allows use of computer matching system with the IRS and with Social Security. Please sign the back of the form and date and put your Social Security number under your signature. If any other household members are over the age of 18, they must also sign and date this form. The next form is also titled Authorization for Release of Information. This is a Division of Housing form. Please locate this form in your packet. Read and sign this document. This form allows the Division of Housing to verify income, assets, childcare expenses, medical expenses, etc. And it also allows us to talk to your landlord when needed. Warning, it is considered fraud and it is a felony for knowingly and willingly making false statements to any department or agency of the United States. If you provide false or incomplete information, you may be required to repay all overpaid rental assistance you received. Calculating your portion of rent. The amount of rent you pay is based on the amount of income you receive. So everyone's rent in this program will be different. Your portion of rent is about a third of your gross monthly income minus any allowed expenses. If you have no income, you will still have to pay a minimum of $25 towards rent and utilities in certain programs. Special programs such as VASH and PSH have a minimum rent of $0 instead of $25. PSH participants never pay more than a third of their gross monthly income for rent and utilities. Determining the rent limit. We call this the payment standard. The payment standard is the maximum amount that Division of Housing will pay towards rent and utilities before subtracting your portion. To find your payment standard, look in your briefing packet for the payment standard chart. Find the county you will live in and the bedroom size on your voucher. You must look for a unit with rent that is at or below the payment standard, that is rent plus any utilities you are required to pay. Special programs. PSH uses fair market rent instead of payment standards. Please ask your housing coordinator for more information on fair market rent. Utilities. Always check with the landlord to determine if you will be responsible for paying any utilities on the unit. If you are responsible, your portion of rent will be reduced so that paying your utilities will not be a financial burden. You may even receive a payment from the Division of Housing for utilities if you do not have any income. If you do receive this payment from the Division of Housing, the payment will be automatically put on your Quest card. After determining eligibility, the Division of Housing will issue you a voucher. The voucher will explain the bedroom size of your voucher, the expiration date, and any extensions for which you've been approved. The voucher will look like this. It will explain your family obligations, how to use the voucher to become a program participant, and the issue and expiration dates of the voucher. This is the back of the sample voucher. This shows the obligations of your family. It is your responsibility to read this and to abide by the regulations. We will also have a form later in the presentation that you will have to sign that highlights these family obligations. Your voucher will expire in 120 days from the date it was issued. It is your responsibility to track the term of your voucher. Mark your calendars at home or find a way to remind yourself so that you don't lose this opportunity. Requests for extensions. If you have a disability and need more than 120 days to find housing, you can request 30-day extensions in writing for up to 1 year. These written requests should be submitted to your housing coordinator. You must submit your written request for an extension before the date your voucher expires. If you did not submit the written request with a record of what you have been doing, your voucher will automatically expire. Your voucher will also expire if you fail to submit your request for tenancy approval form or when the 120 days have passed. We will talk more about the request for tenancy approval form in a few slides. Please remember, extensions are not ever guaranteed. After you've been issued a voucher, the next step is to find a unit. Types of housing you can rent with your voucher: single-family homes, apartments, manufactured home, space rentals, manufactured housing, and other special housing types. How to find a place to live. Ask your housing coordinator if their agency has a list of available units. Check newspaper classified ads or online resources such as Craigslist or ColoradoHousingSearch.com. Zillow also has rental listings. Look in neighborhoods where you want to live for available units or for participating landlords. Contact apartment locating services. Use ColoradoHousingSearch.com. Please locate the census tract maps in your briefing packet. These maps are intended to help families to find decent and affordable housing of their choice and decrease the concentration of poverty. These maps are a tool to help you find housing. You have a choice of where you live. You do not have to live in an area with a high concentration of poverty. You can live in any area you choose. Other things to consider. Is the unit near transportation, schools, and shopping? Will the unit pass an inspection? What does the lease require of you? Is the neighborhood safe for you? Will the rent and utilities be affordable? After locating a unit, the landlord and owner will need to approve your application. The landlord may check rental history and your credit. They can deny you a rental unit if you have a history of not fulfilling your lease obligations. However, if approved, the landlord must complete a request for tenancy approval form and provide an unsigned copy of the lease to your housing coordinator. DOH and your housing coordinator cannot provide references for you. The landlord may request that you complete an application and pay that application fee. The landlord may require this application fee to pay for these background checks, and DOH will not pay these fees for you. Security deposit. You are responsible for paying the full security deposit directly to your landlord. The Housing Choice Voucher Program will not pay the deposit for you. Don't ever give your landlord a security deposit until the housing coordinator confirms the unit has passed and the rent is determined to be affordable, because sometimes landlords will not refund the deposit if you don't move in. Please note that some special programs may be able to provide security deposit assistance. A summary of the Fair Housing Law. Landlords may not discriminate against you for any reason. Please turn to the Fair Housing Law information in your briefing packet or contact your housing coordinator for further assistance. If you feel you have been discriminated against because of your disability or for any other reason, you may file a complaint with HUD. Please contact the Division of Housing for more information on how to file a complaint. Pets. If you have a pet, please make sure the landlord allows pets in the unit that you want to rent. If the landlord charges a pet deposit or pet rent, you will have to pay this out of pocket. The Housing Choice Voucher Program will not cover this for you. Companion animals and service animals. Companion animals and service animals may be used by a person with a disability, so they are able to fully utilize the Housing Assistance Program. Please contact your landlord if you are a person with a disability and you need a companion animal or a service animal. When you find a place to live, you must have your potential landlord complete the request for tenancy approval form and provide a copy of an unsigned lease to your housing coordinator. Return both items to your housing coordinator. Note, you must also sign the request for tenancy approval form once the landlord completes it. Please note, your housing coordinator cannot approve your move into a unit without this form. Step 5, the residential coordinator approves your unit. Upon receipt of the request for tenancy approval form, your housing coordinator will ensure the unit will work for you and with this voucher and be affordable for you before scheduling an inspection. You may attend the inspection and we encourage you to do so. The unit must pass our inspection before the lease is signed. If the unit fails inspection, you have the ability to locate another unit or wait for the repairs to be completed. Inspections. The unit you've selected must pass an inspection before you move in, and at least every 2 years while you live in the unit. Your residential coordinator will coordinate an inspection time with you and the landlord. Special programs. PSH and SHV programs require a passing inspection at least once a year. Please locate a Good Place to Live booklet in your voucher packet, and it will go over for you the types of things we will be looking for in our inspection. Also included in your briefing packet is a lead-based paint packet. Please review the paint brochure before you find a unit. If you choose to lease a unit that was built before 1978 and you have children under the age of 6, please make sure to ask your landlord about lead-based paint in the unit. Your housing coordinator will look for peeling or chipping paint during their inspection. Please locate the disclosure of lead-based paint and/or lead-based paint hazards. The head of the household and the landlord need to date, print, and sign this once you find a unit. Step 6, after you've found a unit, the HAP contract and lease are signed. If the lease and unit are satisfactory, Division of Housing will enter into a contract with the landlord, and you will sign a separate lease agreement with the landlord that Division of Housing does not sign. Lease, that's just between you and the landlord, and you must sign a written lease for at least 6 months. PSH vouchers must be for at least 1 year. And then the HAP contract is signed by the landlord and the Division of Housing. You do not sign this contract. We must sign the contract for the same term as your lease. Once the contracts are signed, the housing assistance payment to the landlord begins. DOH will begin payments to the landlord after the unit has been approved and all contracts are signed. We will mail the payment to the landlord or direct deposit on or about the 1st of each month. Payments will continue as long as the unit meets inspection standards, as long as you live in the unit, as long as the landlord is in compliance with the contract, as long as you're eligible for assistance, and as long as you pay your portion of utilities if they are your responsibility. Please remember, you will have a portion of rent, so we will pay our portion of rent directly to the landlord, and you will pay your portion of rent directly to the landlord. A few notes on leasing up. It's a good idea to complete a walkthrough checklist with your landlord, noting any damage you see in your unit within the first week or 2 of moving in. Then you have it in writing and the landlord cannot charge you for the damage when you move out. If you are not sure how to put utilities in your name, please ask your housing coordinator for assistance. Congratulations! Once you lease up with your voucher, you are a Division of Housing Housing Assistance Program participant. Reexaminations. It is your responsibility to participate in a reexamination of your income, assets, and household at least once per year. The reexamination will include a review of your income, assets, and expenses, and a review of your family composition. Changes in income. Any change in your household income must be reported to your housing coordinator within 10 days of the change. Income changes include a new job or loss of a job, a pay increase or decrease, new benefits, or a loss of benefits. If you don't report the changes in a timely manner, you will be responsible to repay the amount the Division of Housing may have overpaid to your landlord. Any change in your family size must be reported to your housing coordinator within 10 days of the change. Family changes include a family member moving out of the household, or if you would like to add someone to the household. Please note, you must get prior approval before adding any new household member, except a newborn child. All new adult additions to the household must pass a criminal background check. Moving. Once your lease is over, and if you may want to consider moving to another unit, notify your housing coordinator at the time of your re-examination. You must give at least a 30-day notice to your landlord and your coordinator, and in some cases, your lease may actually require a 60-day notice to your landlord. Failure to do so could lead to the loss of your housing assistance. Once you've given your notice, but before you vacate your unit, you must do the following: repair any damage to the unit caused by your family and or your visitors, clean the entire unit, remove your possessions from the unit, turn off or transfer your utilities if they're in your name, return all of your keys to the landlord, and get a dated receipt of when you return those keys. Portability. In the Housing Choice Voucher Program, you may move anywhere within the state of Colorado, or you may move anywhere in the United States with the Housing Choice Voucher. In-state portability. Moving within the state of Colorado is called an in-state transfer. You may take your voucher to another area of the state. However, you will need to transfer housing services to another agency. Please note, there are restrictions if you have a VASH, PSH, or SHV voucher. Out-of-state portability. Moving your voucher out of the state of Colorado is called out-of-state portability. Your voucher can be transferred to the local housing authority serving the area where you want to move in the United States. Please note, VASH port-out requests are not guaranteed, and PSH and SHV cannot be ported out of state. Out-of-state portability. You must get approval from Division of Housing before moving. Please see the briefing packet for more information on portability. Participating successfully in the Division of Housing Housing Assistance Voucher Program. Please locate the Statement of Understanding form. This form lists your obligations as a program participant. Stop. The participant and the housing coordinator will now read and discuss the Statement of Understanding before signing. Program rule violations. Division of Housing understands that everyone deserves a second chance. Therefore, we have a unique 3 strikes policy on program rule violations. A participant conference will be scheduled by your housing coordinator to discuss any program rule violation and how to ensure it will not happen again. A participant conference counts as 1 strike. DOH allows up to 3 participant conferences to discuss program rule violations. On the 4th violation, your coordinator must submit your file to Division of Housing for review and potential termination of your housing assistance. Certain violations may result in automatic termination of your housing assistance. Program rule violations that may result in immediate termination of your housing assistance include manufacture of methamphetamine, registry on the National Sex Offender Registry, incurring a debt of $5,000 or more for failure to report income or household changes, incurring a second debt before paying the initial debt off in full to the Division of Housing. Or if you have a project-based voucher, you will lose your voucher if you don't stay in your unit for at least 1 year, or you leave your unit without having a new voucher. Informal hearing. You can request an informal hearing at any time. Turn to the informal hearings in the briefing packet for more information on when you are entitled to informal hearings. Reasonable accommodations. A reasonable accommodation is a request to change a program policy so that a person with a disability can better utilize the Housing Choice Voucher. Contact your housing coordinator for assistance if you feel you need a reasonable accommodation to any of the program rules. Violence Against Women Act. Locate this handout in your briefing packet. An incident or incidents of actual or threatened domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking will not be a reason to terminate your housing assistance. Contact your housing coordinator if you are a victim of abuse or any family member engages in abuse of any kind. And remember, the Violence Against Women Act also covers violence against men as well. This completes the applicant briefing presentation. Don't forget to sign the certificate of applicant briefing form in your briefing packet. And please make sure you leave this with your housing coordinator. You can now start your housing search immediately. This is a great time if you have any questions.